Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Short Term Rentals with the one and only, the king of short term, Tijani. Thank you so much for coming to our studios today.
No problem. Glad to be here for another episode.
I know,
Yes.
and today we're going to talk about technology because it's so amazing that we're in the age of technology. We have so many advantages that allow us to grow our business within short term rentals. So, first of all, which platforms do you currently use for managing all of your listings?
The platforms that we use that we actually list our properties on, the OTAs we use, Airbnb for sure. And by the way, I'm going to pause parenthetically here because a lot of people look at me and they say, oh, TJ's the Airbnb guy, which is great. I embrace it. I love it. I take it, right? But at the end of the day, Airbnb is not the business I'm in. And I tell people that all the time. Nor is it the business you're in. If you're in this business or looking to get into it, that's not the business you're in or will be in either. Because at the end of the day, Airbnb is just a platform. It's not the business we're in. It's just one of the many platforms that's out there. We're on Airbnb. We're also on booking.com. So you don't hear me going around and say, what do you do? I do booking.com. Right? We're not going around saying that. We're not going around and saying that even though we're listed on VRBO. Oh, what do you do? I have a VRBO business. We're not saying that. So nor do you have an Airbnb business. Airbnb is just popular. It's a popular name to say. It's probably the coolest name to say. So that's why everybody just says that, oh, I do Airbnb. But you don't have a booking.com business. You don't have a VRBO business. You don't have an Expedia business. We're on all these sites. But they are not the business we're in. They're just an OTA. They're just a marketing channel. And we are in the short-term rental business, and we serve a particular guest avatar, and we provide a services and an experience to those folks. And that's what we do.
That's right. And in the case of all of these platforms, these OTAs, they are just your marketing
They're
strategy.
just the marketing
Those
tools.
awesome tools that you use for listing your property.
They are the treat that we bring whenever we're trying to catch our cat, which is, i.e., our cat is our travelers, our guest. The OTAs are our source to where they come to. And all we got to do is just be there waiting for them. That's it.
That's right. And in the case of all of these OTAs, what are the main differences that you have seen between the three of them that you mentioned?
So the three main ones, of course, Airbnb, Booking.com, VRBO. There's a lot of other OTAs out there. There are a ton of them. Now, Airbnb, like I mentioned earlier just now, a lot of people, even though I tell people I'm the Airbnb guy, people say that, but that Airbnb is not the business I'm in. Even though I say that, but I also say start with Airbnb. Airbnb is still where you're going to start. Airbnb, when it comes to user interface, the services and the value that they provide to the host, Airbnb is still at the top of the game. Because when you think about everything that you need in a business, you need payroll handled. You need a merchant, right? You got to do merchant processing, background checks, things like that. Airbnb does that. Airbnb does the background checks for you to make sure that you're not hosting a felon or anything like that. So they do that. And that's why I highly recommend to start there because they're still the most turnkey platform out there. There's VRBO. I would say probably right now we probably get about 15% of our bookings from VRBO. A phenomenal platform to be on. We actually tend to charge more for our VRBO on our VRBO platform than the Airbnb platform. And understand a lot of this is market dependent as well. There's some markets. I have a student right now in Colorado. She says she gets more of her bookings from VRBO than Airbnb. So it just depends.
And why is it that you're charging more on VRBO
Yep.
then?
Yep. We charge more on VRBO because people just tend to pay more on VRBO. And we also charge more on booking.com. Booking.com is actually, honestly, what people don't really realize about booking.com. Booking.com is low key probably the site that is the closest to Airbnb in terms of hits and views. Low key, sometimes they probably pass up Airbnb in terms of the number one spot for views. So on average, Airbnb gets about 50 million hits a month, right? And them and Airbnb at booking.com, they go at it all the time. And a lot of times booking.com does they are bigger than Airbnb. They're just Airbnb is just the most popular. So sometimes being the bigger platform and to have the more users and the more hits doesn't necessarily mean you're the most known. Right. Airbnb is just the most known because they are the disruptors. They are the ones who changed the game that these other platforms had to get with. Even Marriott is now offering, well, they're about to. It's only rolled out to just a few hosts, but right now they're offering to where you can list your property, any just like a house or wherever, any vacation rental or short-term rental on the Marriott platform,
Oh wow.
and you can use your Marriott points to book it as well. So as much as they have been trying to lobby against Airbnb, they realize that if you can't beat them, you might as well join them. And that's what a lot of these sites did. You got to understand, Booking.com was around way before Airbnb was, but they were focused on hotels. And so now they started you having it to
Opening
where you
the
can put your house and you can have short-term rentals on there because what Airbnb did. VRBO, same thing, only focused on hotels. At the time, HomeAway was there. They were recently bought by VRBO, but they were same thing, hotels, car rentals, like that. So Airbnb came into the mix, and they're the ones that forced all these other OTAs to start listing vacation rentals and short-term rental properties on there as well. So because they're the disruptor, they're the most known. But honestly, Booking.com gets a lot of hits as well, and a lot of times they get more hits than Airbnb does. So you definitely want to be on Booking.com. But if you know anything about Booking.com, you know that they're not the easiest to list on.
Oh no.
In comparison to Airbnb, it's like a night and day difference. it's,
Oof.
it's so much easier to list on Airbnb than it is on Booking.com. And so it's a totally different experience. Some people just don't even like listing on Booking.com just because of how confusing it can be for them.
Mhm.
So so yeah, Booking.com is great. You just gotta, you can get just figure out how to list it. If you're having a hard time, get it on Booking.com, 100%. Expedia is great at the time. Expedia, I'm not sure if this is still the case, but you have to have at least 20 listings to be on Expedia. So I'm not sure if that's still the case, but I know at the time that the time I got on, that's the case it was. And so all these sites are amazing. Should you be on all of them? Yes. Should you be on all of them because you want more eyes on your listing and more eyes will get you more bookings? 100%. But what's the challenge of being on all of them? The challenge is that when you're on all of them, you have to make sure that those counters are synced, right? So as long as you have that system down packed, you'll be good.
So how do you do it for managing all of those many
Yeah.
calendars without going crazy? Because there's so many.
Yeah. And if you don't, imagine if you're on all these sites and you don't have those counters to sync, you 100% will go crazy. This is a fact guaranteed. And you're going to have double bookings, which is one of the worst things you can have. Trust me, I come talking from experience because I've messed that up too. And so when you are having these listings on all these OTAs, when you're on Booking.com and Airbnb, now you want to bring in a property management system, a property management software. This is also called a channel manager. We love using Guesty, but there's a few out there that you can use. There's a lot, and do your research. Hostaway, Tokeet, Your Porter, Lodgify, Hospitality. I mean, these are all sites that you can check out, run a comparison because they all have different features, they all have different user interfaces, they all have different personalities, period. Pick the one that works best for your business model, right? They all have, their prices vary as well. And so an OTA should be on a PMS. Every OTA you're on should be on a PMS, a property management software or system, actually, either or. That way, everything is linked onto one platform. You can literally manage your entire calendar from one platform, no matter where those listings are coming from. And so that's going to help you systemize the process. That's going to help you make sure that you're avoiding double bookings. That's going to help you to make sure that you are maximizing your calendar space. Somebody books it here, is blocked off on all the other sites, and you'll be in good shape that way. So having that PMS system, if you're going to have multiple eyes on your listing, which you should, is definitely the way to go.
And in the case of that PMS, like how property management system, right? So how many other features does it have? Because you mentioned the
Yeah,
calendar feature.
yeah,
Does it provide any other services for us as an investor?
100%. The property management softwares, again, a lot of them have different features. Of course, syncing the calendar is like the main thing. That's like the reason why you'd want one in the first place. Secondly, you can have it to where a lot of them also have the feature to where you can communicate with your guests in an automated fashion.
Oh,
If somebody sends you an inquiry, somebody sends you a question, somebody sends you a booking request, or even a confirmed booking, you want to make sure that you respond to it as fast as humanly possible, because this plays heavy in your search ranking on the OTA. So you can, even the OTA, I mean, the property management system has that feature. A lot of them do have that feature to where you can automate that process. You can have preset responses that will go out automatically depending on the trigger that actually happened. So once you have that set up, it'll keep your response rate at 100%. And a lot of these PMS also offer that feature. Another one is a website. A lot of property management softwares have a built-in booking site with it,
oh,
to where you can create a booking site. Now, a lot of these companies, these PMSs, they are in the calendar management business. They're not really in a tech website business. So their websites are usually very simple, like they're not nothing like fancy or anything like that, but it gets the job done. You
right.
can literally populate all your listings on the site. That way you have a site that people can go book direct for with you, and your listings are also connected to all your other OTAs. Those listings on your website are connected to the OTA. So if somebody books it on your website, those dates are also blocked on Airbnb, Booking.com, VRV, on all the other sites. So that's why these PMSs also have a website feature that you should be able to take advantage of. And at least start there. Take advantage of that website feature until you can actually build your own, custom, nice, website that you want to build that's custom. But you don't have to worry about that for now. You can use the PMS's website, which isn't that bad. You can still use it, get direct bookings on there until you can build out your own. So definitely has that feature as well. A lot of other features too. Definitely check them. Some have some that some don't. Some have a task manager to where you can have tasks to where, say you have a maintenance issue, you can say a guest calls, hey, this broke, or this is an issue. Your assistant or whoever picks up the phone can say, okay, great, go on their phone, put it as a task. It can go get sent straight to our maintenance guy, which is, this is what happens. Guest says there's a maintenance issue. Our virtual assistant puts the task issue, puts it under the task. That task gets sent to everybody on the team. Everybody sees it. But the most important person that needs to see it is the maintenance guy. So he sees it. He goes in, performs the task, fixes it. Then he can go right on his phone, task complete, that we know the issue has been rectified.
Mhm.
And so it has that feature as well. A lot of these PMSs also have that feature. And that's one that you can definitely utilize to help you keep your team organized as well. So
That's right, and it's kind of like a ticketing system where everyone, like whoever is the person that has to own that issue and
mhm.
solve it, they just get a ticket and they know exactly what needs to be fixed. And at the same time, it also allows accountability within your team because
Yes.
having so many properties, I feel like it's so hard to check on your team and to see if they are actually providing your guests the service that you are asking them to perform. Um,
Yes.
how many hours do you now spend by managing and dealing with all of these many bookings?
Well, I always say, as one of the best things I like to say about this business strategy is where the value is. The value is not in the OTA. The value is in your infrastructure. It's in your systems. This is why it takes me literally a few hours a week to run our entire portfolio. This is because of the systems and the infrastructure that we have built out. Because we're able to leverage technology, because of our PMS system and our just our virtual assistants, the outsourcing, our managers. Um, when you factor the entire team in, this is what allows us to run our business essentially on autopilot. I am averaging about 2 hours a week
Oh
in
wow.
my business right now, about 2 hours a week, which is great for us, because now we're only able to focus on the high income producing activities and tasks that is moving the business forward. And that is what allows us to focus, because of the time freedom that we created in our business. And honestly, one of the reasons why I love this short-term rental business so much is because it is the ideal kind of business that I like to grow and start. I like to start and grow businesses that I can walk away from. I like to start and grow businesses that I can bring in somebody if I package it up properly, if I focus on operations and systems and management, and I focus on structure, I can package the business up to where I say, hey, here's the business, run it. I'm gonna train somebody to run this business. Let me walk away, and I'm gonna tap in at meetings and whenever you need me. Businesses that I can fire myself at is the businesses that I like to grow and start, and that's one of the reasons why I love this short-term rental industry, because we can do just that in this business.
And at what point within your career were you able to transition more into semi-absentee, I guess, role?
As we scale, because at the end of the day, this business gets easier as we scale this business. You know, there's a running joke. One of my students, when they asked me, they said, "Well, you know, we'll be on a coaching call and they'll tell me about this issue that they're facing with a guest or what else, something that happened." And be like, "Well, okay, well, how do you think that we should go about this?" I always joke with them and I'll say, "Get more units." Well, TJ, what are we doing with this? Get more units. Well, what's the solution when we do? Get more units is the solution.
That's
I
wonderful.
say it jokingly, but it's true at the same time, because the more units you have, the better you sleep at night. Because when you have so many units, even though something crazy might happen to one of them, you're not that bothered with it. But when you have just two, then yeah, you're really bothered. I mean, so the more importantly, as you're scaling this business, I always tell people, so as I'm saying, get more units, don't just be getting more units. We don't want to scale this business on a broken system. What I mean by that is, if your systems and your infrastructure isn't down packed and optimized and systematized with just one or two listings, then focus on that first before you start adding more listings. Because what you're going to do in that case is you're going to try to scale when your systems are broken. And this is going to make this business more frustrating for you. And so we don't want to scale on a broken system, both from a perspective of scaling in the number of units that you have, but we also don't want to scale in the number of viewerships that we have either. Because if you're scaling, if you don't have your systems down packed with just Airbnb, how well do you think you'll do when you start adding booking.com and start adding a VRBO, knowing that all these OTAs have their own personalities that come with their own set of issues, right? So if you're not down packed with one OTA, don't be trying to scale into multiple OTAs until you have until you have your systems dialed in with just one. So we don't want to scale on a broken system, both in terms of number of units. We also don't want to scale on a broken system in a sense of scaling into multiple OTAs before we are ready to. So this is why, remember, the value is in the infrastructure. The value is in the systems. This is what we want to have down packed and have dialed in before we start scaling our business.
That's right. And you couldn't have said it better. Truly, the systems, they are the foundation where you build your amazing empire and portfolio within short term rentals. Thank you so much again, TJ. And thank you to our audience for tuning into this episode. We are going to see you on the next episode. And we are also going to be teaching you a couple of extra strategies for short term rentals. See you in the next one.
Let's get it.